Hey everyone, hope everyone's doing well. So, the last week we looked at methods, and that was probably one of the tougher weeks going through, especially when you had to do coding bat. We're going to come back to that, so I really hope that you understand that, and let me know if you have any questions. You can go back and try some more coding bat problems, just the warm up ones, because as we learn some things this week, we'll be able to go back and do some more. So this week we're actually going to add another tool to our kind of coding tool belt if you think of it. So we know how to make variables. So these are the things you should know how to do is create variables, and you should know how to use if or if else statements. And you should know about methods now a little bit, and that methods return stuff. So now, over the next couple weeks, we're going to learn really two very important tools. What we're going to learn this week is something called a for loop. Now, this isn't new to you. This is what in Scratch we call the repeat loop. So this is just going to repeat some code a certain number of times. And once you understand it, a couple things you have to know, and you should be good in this for this week. But this is just really, I'll put in here, it's a repeat loop. Okay, so that's what we're going to be looking at this week, and then next week I think we're going to be looking at arrays. So for this, a repeat loop, if I write something here that says, so these are just comments, so they won't show if I run this program, but let's do system.out.print. Remember, there's print and there's print line. We're going to make sure we know the difference between both of these for some of the worksheets you have. So I'm going to print line hello. Okay, and if I run this program, so hit run, you should see hello come down here. All right. Now, what if I want to print hello again? Well, I could definitely just copy this and paste this, and I will get hello again. Now, jump back here. Make sure you know the difference between println, which is print line, and just print. So when I did print line for both of these, you see how hello is on two different lines. When I do print, you will see that they will not be on two lines. They will be right across from each other. Okay, so make sure you know the difference between print and print line. I'm going to use print line for what I'm going to do, but just kind of keep that in mind. So if I want these to print out 2 times, I can do that. Well, what if I want to print it out 3 or 4 or 10? I don't really want to just sit here and copy. So we have what is called a for loop. Okay. Now, I'm going to set it up first, and we'll come back to it. So to start a for loop, it's just for, and then you open a parenthesis, and then you close it. It's going to want me some stuff in here. Okay? And then you open a bracket, and make sure you close a bracket. So this is your for loop. So inside the for loop, I'm going to put system.out.println hello again. Okay? So I want this to print out a bunch of times, maybe 5 times. So I have to come in here and write some stuff. So there's 3 parts to a for loop. The first part is you have to actually create and define and initialize a variable, I should say, since we know what that means. So I can define a variable. So, and it's usually going to be an int. So I'm going to say int, and a lot of times in for loops we use I or j for a lot of times. I really don't know why that's necessarily the case, but you will see that a lot. So I'm going to say for int I, and then you have to initialize it. So I'm going to start by setting I equal to 0. Okay? Then you put a semicolon. Then you give this a condition. So I'm going to say here I is less than 5. Okay? And then I'll put another semicolon. And then you have to put what you want I to increment by or increase by. So I'm going to do I will equal I plus 1. We're going to come back to this in a second as well. So if I run this now, let's just see what it does. You will see hello, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hellos. And let's see why it happens. And we'll trace through it later. So when I first start this, I create a variable called I, and I is equal to 0. So I'm going to go down here below this and kind of just write some stuff down in comments. So I have a variable called I, and I is equal to 0 right now. What happens now is I will get into this if this is true. So is 0 less than 5? Yes. So because I is 0. So is 0 less than 5? Yes. So I come down here and I print hello. That's why that says hello right there. Then I come up, once you're done doing whatever's in this code, you come up and you run this incrementer. So you now change I. So now I becomes 1. And you don't jump back to this one, you jump back to this check. So you see, is 1 less than 5? Yes, it is. So you print out hello again. So this one gets printed. Jump back up to this, I becomes 2. Is 2 less than 5? Yep, print hello. Print. I becomes 3. Is 3 less than 5? Yep, print that one. Comes up here. I becomes 4. Is 4 less than 5? Yes, it is. Print that one. You come up here and you increment. So I is now 5. However, you check, is 5 less than 5? Nope. So you do not run this and you are out of that loop, that repeat loop. And that is how a for loop works. Now, I can change all these numbers around. Okay? Can you imagine what happens if I start I instead of 0 at 3? So now I starts at 3. It will run as long as I is less than 5, and I will increment I by 1 every single time. And if I run this, I only get out 2 hellos. Okay? Now most of the time we don't start I at 3. We usually start it at either 0 or I've seen 1 a lot of times. Okay? Either one is fine. You can also do, if you want this to, if you start at 1, if you notice when I had this at 0 and this was less than 5, it ran 5, it said 5 hellos. If I started this at 1, it's only going to run 4. If I wanted 5, I can change this to a 6, or I could do, now that you know, less than or equal to 5. And think about that, that will give you 5 I's or 5 hellos as well. So keep those in mind of what I can do there. All right. I'm going to go back and change this to 0 and 5. You can obviously change this to 10 or 20 or 100 if you want to see 100 of them, just to kind of keep that. Now this is my incrementer. Now a lot of times you will not see people write I equals I plus 1. There's a shortcut to that. So if you want to see I equals, they will just do I plus plus. Those two things are the same. So I'll repeat that. I equals I plus 1 is the exact same thing as I plus plus. So that will just increment by 1. Okay? Make sure you know that, because in the worksheet you're going to see I plus plus. Now, I could do I equals I plus 2. Whoops. So now I'm going to increment by 2. So if I run this, you're going to see only 3 hellos, because every time you're adding 2 now to I instead of the 1. So I'm going to force you to trace through this before you write your own. Okay? So kind of keep that in mind. Now, you don't have to always start at 0 and go up. You can go down. So you'll see this sometimes where you'll start I as 5. You'll run this, now be careful here, as long as I is greater than 0. And instead of doing I plus plus, as you might expect, there's an I minus minus, which is the same as decreasing I by 1. So if I run this, I will get my 5 hellos again, because I will start at 5. So I'll just kind of put here I starts at 5. Is 5 greater than 0? Yes, it is. Print out hello. Then I take I and I decrease 1. So I is 4. Is 4 greater than 0? Yep. Becomes 3, becomes 2, becomes 1. Eventually you'll get to 0. Is 0 greater than 0? Nope, and I'm done. Now, a couple mistakes that I see here. What would happen if I put, instead of a greater than sign, a less than sign? So now I have I, which is 5, and it says this will run as long as 5 is less than 0. Well, 5 is not less than 0. 5 is greater than 0. So if I run this, you actually don't get anything. This never runs, because this is true. You don't even get in there. Excuse me. So please remember, you'll never get in this loop unless this is true. All right, so we can count up, we can count down. All right, just be careful of that. All right. The other thing I wanted to look at is just to finish up with adding some numbers in here. So instead of just printing out hello, we can print out I if I want to. Let me go back to change this to something a little easier. So we can print out I. So I can run here, print this, or run this, and you'll see it's just going to print I, but I's changing throughout. So I actually start to count 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I could do something like this if I want to see some numbers. Okay. I can change this to, what if I do I plus 3? So now I'm going to add 3 every time to I. Okay. So this can be changed. You could also put in, if you want, let me get rid of this because a lot of times you'll see just print. So now if you look at this with a print, you're going to see these numbers go straight across. So that almost looks like 12,345. But I could do plus a space if I want to. And now you're going to see here, same thing, that these just kind of space out a little more. Okay, I can even put some more in. If I want to, you can see there they go out. I can put a comma in here and a space. This might look a little bit nicer. I can put anything in there, kind of put an underscore, kind of put some space between. So anything I can kind of put there. This would just do I plus a space. And then the next time through, it'll print I plus a space to kind of go through. All right, so kind of realize that you'll see that a little bit in those cases. You can also do stuff to I in here with a space. I kind of showed you I can do something like I plus 1 plus a space. So this would be like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can do like I times 2. All right, these numbers will get a little bit bigger. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Kind of count even. So make sure you go back and understand this. We're going to go and look at a worksheet now to kind of see what you need to do. So that is a for loop. All right, so you have 3 parts. You initialize a variable, you set a condition, you increment, and then you do whatever code you want. And for this, we're just going to do a lot of printouts. Okay, so you can use print, which will be one line, or print line, which will be on separate lines. So let's take a look at your first activity of what you need to do. And we're actually going to run through the first one together. So you have 2 things that you need to submit. For one, submit the tracing worksheet. So first tracing worksheet looks like this. You'll have, I think there's 6 for loops that you need to trace through. Now, I don't want just the output. I want to see what happens to I throughout it. So I'm going to show you what I need to see for this. Okay, this is your output of your print. So for int I equals 1, so I'm going to do the first one for you here. I'm actually going to change some color here, text color, let's go to red. So the first time I is 1, okay? And then is 1 less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is. So I come down and I print out I plus an underscore. So here's my output. I'm going to come here and I'm going to print 1 with an underscore. Change that to red too. All right. Then return. Actually, I can just hit down. I want to return all of them. All right. You don't have to do red color on this. This is just easier for you guys to see. I can also get rid of that. All right, there we go. I have some underlining here. So I, what does I become next? So I comes in, I'm incrementing by 1. So now I is 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 5? Yep, so I print out 2 with an underscore. And remember, it's not a print line, it's just a print. Then I come down, I becomes 3. And I print out 3 with an underscore. Come down, add, I becomes 4. Print 4 with an underscore. Come down, I becomes 5. Is 5 less than or equal to 5? Yes, it is. 5 with an underscore gets printed out. I becomes 6. You can kind of keep this there. I becomes 6. Is 6 less than or equal to 5? No, it's not, so you don't print. So this would be your answer to number 1, and you are done. Okay? If I gets bigger than 6 or so, and if you needed to go I more, you can just come over here, give some spaces, and do like I becomes 7 or 8, and then work your way in 2 columns, rather than doing this, because all of these will start to get off. All right? And then you'll move on to the next question. If there's an error or something doesn't even get in there, write error. Okay? Remember the plus plus operator adds 1, minus minus operator subtracts 1. So that's adding 1 to I, adding 1 to I, adding 1. Now this one's adding 2, subtracting 1, adding 1. So you should be able to handle those. All right? Please message me if you have any questions, all right, on that one. And then finally, the second one to hand in that you need to submit is writing for loops worksheet, number 1. So now you need to write the for loops. So, and I forgot to put the link to it, so let me go to it real quick. This one, it's going to be I don't really need to spend too much time going over it. You just need to write the for loops. So, this is it or not? Nope. All right, so I just jumped back in and added that in there, so it's there for you now. So writing for loops, if you click on that one, you'll go make a copy. And this one now is you need to write your for loops. Same thing if you want to write, you can write with, in Google Docs, you can print this out if you have a printer and handwrite it. You can do this on a sheet of paper and submit it and just use this and look at it. Whatever you feel comfortable is fine with me. So you need to write code something that uses a for loop to display the numbers 1 through and including 10 on one line of output, separated by single spaces. Use a control variable named I. So I'll help you out in this one to start. So you're going to start with for int. It said use a control variable named I. And it doesn't really matter what you started at. This is up to you. You just know you need to go, well, it does say 1 through and including 10. So yeah, I mean, you could start at 0, but you're going to have a tough time showing that. So I think we definitely want to start at 1. And we want to run this as long as I is less than or equal to 10. And then it says 1, 2, 3. So we're going to do I plus plus. We're incrementing by 1. And we are going to do, it's good practice to put the open close parentheses there. And then we'll do system.out.print, because it said 1 line. And we want to print the numbers 1 through and including 10. Well, when we first start off, I is 1. And the next time I is 2. And the next time I is 3. So why don't we just print I, followed by a space. And you can do that. If you remember to put your semicolon, great. And that would be it. That should go 1 through and including 10. So that would be the answer to number 1. You only have 4 more to do. Once again, let me know if you have any questions or trouble getting these started. I'd be happy to help out. All right? And that takes care of everything for this week. All right, good luck.